Hello viewers! Today I want to talk about sanitizing. What it is, how I sanitize, what I sanitize, why I do it, and what I do alongside sanitizing. So if you like this video, please click that like button and subscribe, and please share this video wherever it is appropriate. I hope you find this information useful, and please let me know in the comments any suggestions you have for me or other brewers. So first of all, what is sanitizing? Sanitizing is reducing the numbers of microorganisms on your surfaces, on your tools, in your containers. So it's more than just cleaning, but you have to clean before you sanitize. You need to remove all the visible dirt or any other particles. You have to remove that before you sanitize. So it's more than just cleaning, but it's less than sterilization. I'm just doing this in my kitchen. I don't have a sterile environment. I don't have an environment with no microorganisms. So there's some bacteria and mold and yeast floating around on all my surfaces in the kitchen. I can't really avoid that. It's not a sterile environment, but what I can do is clean and sanitize, reduce the number of microorganisms, the bacteria, mold, and yeast that I don't want in my brew. So in general, how do you sanitize? Well, the rustic way of sanitizing a brewing container would be to be a large brewing container. You'd place it upside down over a smoky fire, and the heat and the smoke would sanitize the container. Another rustic way of sanitizing is boiling. If what you want to sanitize can be boiled, that's an easy way to sanitize something. Now, I've never used the smoke method for sanitizing. I do boil, for example, I boil my filter cloth before using it. That's the easiest way to sanitize my filter cloth. And the tools that I use and my brewing containers, those I sanitize with either Campden tablets mixed with water or with Star San. So the Campden tablets are potassium metabisulfite or sodium metabisulfite. I just mix in one tablet in my spray bottle with some water. This is a pretty concentrated solution actually, and I spray this solution on my tools, and because it's a high concentration, I actually rinse it off before using it. Now, should be aware that's not strictly as sanitary as it could be, because the water I'm using to rinse it is just tap water. So if there's any microorganisms in the tap water, then my tool is contaminated with that. But that's what I do. I live with that. Okay, I want to insert an interesting fact into the middle of this video. Campden tablets have another application. The Campden tablet mixed in water, that solution, it can neutralize the effect of tear gas. Very interesting. So I just want to insert that fact in here. Let's continue with the discussion of sanitizing. Now, if I'm sanitizing something larger, like a large brewing container, or if I have a lot of things to sanitize at one time, then I use Star San. Just follow the instructions on the container of Star San. Produce a lot of sanitizing solution. So if I have a lot of bottles or other tools that I need to sanitize all at the same time, it's easiest to do with the Star San. The Campden tablets are supposed to be effective against bacteria and wild yeast, and the Star San is effective against bacteria. So hopefully that helps me avoid some of the contamination possible in my kitchen from bacteria. It's most important to sanitize things at the beginning of the brewing process. At the beginning of the brewing process, your own fermentation hasn't got a chance to become established yet, so it's most susceptible to contamination early on. So that's why you do want a clean and sanitized environment at the start of your fermentation process, so that the things you want to grow will grow and won't be contaminated by outside things. And similarly, it's also important to sanitize when you're bottling for long-term storage. Then any contaminant has a chance to grow. So you want to avoid contamination at the bottling stage as well. So just because I'm trying to brew in a rustic way doesn't mean I can't be clean and sanitary. So let's talk about the materials that you're sanitizing. I like using glass containers and stainless steel tools, because those are easy to clean and sanitize. Something that's porous, like a wooden spoon, that's harder to sanitize. I do use a wooden spoon. Another porous substance would be earthenware, so something like a traditional Korean brewing vessel, ongi, hangari. Those kinds of vessels are earthenware, so they're porous. That's an important characteristic they have, but that also means that it's hard to strictly sanitize them. The best strategy for porous things is to have them be uniform use. So I always use this wooden spoon for stirring my brews, even of a certain type. I could use one spoon for the red yeast rice, another spoon for the makgeolli. If you have a uniform use for the spoon, it's less likely to be a problem. And similarly, for any porous vessel that you're brewing in, you better be brewing the same kind of thing in that vessel every time. You're not going to be switching around, fermenting different things. So that's the strategy I would use for porous items. Sanitizing only gets you so far. Sanitizing is just one thing you do to avoid contamination. Equally important is to provide the right conditions for the fermentation you want to happen. And by providing those favorable conditions for your fermentation, that'll discourage the outside contaminants, contaminating microorganisms that you don't want in your brew. That's why it's so important to have the right temperature and possibly humidity, and also the right amount of oxygen. How often do you stir it, and pH level. So those are the basic conditions that determine what kind of microorganism wants to grow in that environment. And of course you want to set up so that your alcohol-producing yeast is favored, and everything else is going to be discouraged as a result of that. Getting your alcohol-producing yeast to be happy, that works hand in hand with sanitizing to avoid contamination and bad brews. So let me know what you think in the comments. How do you sanitize in your home brewing? Hope you found this interesting. Thank you for watching.